Resume our meeting with no announcements so far out of closed session for those that might have been wondering. We are now 30 minutes behind our 7 o'clock portion. Public hearings, zoning map amendment, special use permit requests, resolutions. Move right into item 23. Public hearing and resolution requesting approval of a zoning map amendment for a general use rezoning of 4 tracts totaling 15.69 acres from RA Rural Agriculture to the GB General Business District located on the northwest corner of the intersection of Camp Kirkwood Road, U.S. Highway 117, Watha. Ms. Frank.
Board, good evening. Again, this is a general use zoning map amendment. Pender County applicant on behalf of Melanie Herring, Miranda Rodriguez, Keith Tatro, owners, is requesting a zoning map amendment for a general use rezoning of 4 tracts, 15.69 acres from the RA Rural Agricultural District to the GB General Business District. The subject's properties are located on the northeast corner or northeast intersection of Camp Kirkwood Road and U.S. Highway 117. What's being passed out before you now is actually a revised part of the staff report. It's page 1. It just added the planning board comments and staff's recommendation. The planning board meeting was a week ago, so your packets had already been delivered, so that was absent from your packet. So if you just look for the planning board recommendation, that's been the only modification to the staff report. These tracts were inadvertently rezoned from the B2 Highway Business District to the RA District in a mapping error in 2009. The property was requested by the owner, Mr. Drake, in 1999 to be rezoned from RA to the Business Highway District. This may look familiar to you. Staff notified the board via an email of our intention to rectify the error back in early June, I believe June 6th of this year. So if this does look familiar, that's probably why. Each of the 4 tracts do meet the minimum lot size for the General Business District. The tracts are not located in a special flood hazard area, and tracks 1, 2, and 3 currently have access on U.S. Highway 117, and track 4 has direct access to Camp Kirkwood Road. This is a general use rezoning, which will encompass all the permitted uses by right in the General Business District as shown on the table of permitted uses in the Pender County Unified Development Ordinance, Table 5.2.3. The General Business District is primarily intended to accommodate uses which require close access to major highways. The district is established to provide convenient locations for businesses which will serve the needs of the surrounding residents. These uses can include office, retail, and personal use services. The existing land use of this area to the north is going to be vacant with some single-family residential. To the west, you have an existing business here with some low-density single residential. To the south, single-family residential with some agricultural tracts, a convenience store, and also agricultural tracts to the east. The Pender County Planning Board at the July 1st, 2014 meeting had a split decision 3-3 on this case. The specifics included, they felt like we needed to notify the property owners. We did send out notices to the property owners for this, but they wanted a more detailed information from the property owners. At the time, the property owners were not in attendance of the meeting. To my knowledge, all 3 property owners are here tonight for the meeting. So the planning board modified staff's recommendation and tabled tracts 4 and tracts 1 until their next meeting in August, but then proceeded to recommend a rezoning of tracts 2 and 3, which were owned by Mr. Rodriguez. Mr. Rodriguez actually was the property owner that brought it to staff's attention that the error had taken place. Staff can answer any questions, and like I said, all 3 of the property owners are here as well. But this is a Pender County initiated rezoning.
Officially open public hearing.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir, please.
Okay. So originally they were zoned business.
Yes, sir.
Then inadvertently they were zoned back to RA.
Yes, sir. With a technical error. through our GIS system.
Were there any businesses affected by that?
There is a business located here. I'm not sure if it's operational. When we went to the site, the property was
Used to be a
fenced.
garage.
It is. It's some form of auto repair shop.
Is that the reason why they were zoned business back, what you said, 99?
The original property owner, Mr. Drake, and that resolution is in your packet. Mr. Drake petitioned the Board of Commissioners to rezone the property to business. All 4 tracts were purchased when the property was zoned B2, which is the business highway, which is comparable to our general business now.
So, Ms. Franks, we're trying to establish tonight, moving it from, as I read here, from RA to GB?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that is to allow the applicant to be able to operate his business?
Also, because it was a mistake on our part, that the property was initially rezoned to business 2 in 1999. When we fixed some zoning errors in 2009 inadvertently through the GIS system, the tracks were just placed in error back to RA. Because you adopted that map, it also adopted our error. So that's why it's before you to fix the problem that we
So when
created.
he purchased the property, he thought he was, I assume, in a GB district?
Yes, sir. When all 4 property owners, and this map actually, it's up here as well, but let's see if Ms. Glenna will pass this. All 4 of the properties, but it's 3 separate property owners, purchased the property when the property was zoned B2 business district. The property reverted back to RA in 2009.
And did you say they were notified at that time?
Yes, sir. We sent all 3 property owners notification via mail. Again, Mr. Rodriguez met with staff on a couple occasions and had a couple phone calls. He discovered it was zoned RA and had staff research how the property got rezoned to RA without his knowledge, and we came up with the error in 2009.
Ms. Frank, I think Commissioner Tate's question was, at the time we initiated the mass rezoning, were the property owners notified?
No, sir, because we didn't know that we were changing their property. We only notified property owners that were outside of Pender County, and that would have been only if their property was changed, because theirs was changed by mistake. We didn't even realize we had changed it, and probably never would have realized it if Mr. Rodriguez had not brought it to our attention.
Okay, thank you.
But he had bought the land thinking it already.
Yes, sir. He purchased the property in 2007. The property at that time was B2 Highway District. And that zoning district no longer exists. With the adoption of the UDO, we created the General Business District. B2 is comparable to the General Business District.
There's some people called me the other day, they're concerned about the intersection there, 117, but
It's Camp Kirkwood Road,
Yeah.
Highway 117 and Croomsbridge Road.
right.
Yes, sir, that was brought up at the planning board meeting. Staff did check the NCDOT annual average daily traffic counts, and along with the comprehensive transportation plan, and US Highway 117 is a major thoroughfare, and currently the points that they checked were just north of the property and just south of the property. But at this point, the site north is around 3,500 trips per day, but most importantly, it's at a capacity for 16,400, and the same down just south of the property. The capacity right now is at 2,800 counts per day, operating at the same 16.4. So the road is only operating at a 17 to 21% capacity for a major thoroughfare.
And all around it's farmlands, what's around it? Everything around it's farmland.
Yes, sir. You have some farmland here and here. Camp Kirkwood would be over here.
Any other commissioner questions for staff? I assume we have some sign-ups.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Call the applicant first. Miranda Rodriguez. Yes, ma'am. Would you like to come up and speak? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. When my husband and I and some other people purchased the property, we purchased it under the assumption that it was commercial, general business, and paid taxes in accordance, and then find out that it wasn't at some point is when my husband researched it. So that's what I'd like to say.
Anybody have any questions? Ms. Rodriguez, comments? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Run down the list now, Michelle. Sharon Hardison.
Good afternoon. I live on Groomsbridge Road, and I am not against prosperity and buildings, but we live in a community where it's just, there's places for businesses. We have Camp Kirkwood right behind these properties where children and churches come to spend summers and family things. We're a country, you know, there's places for business, I feel like, personally. You've got towns for businesses. Right up the street, or right up 117, there's lots of acres, I don't know how many, that's already zoned residential. I'm scared for the kids, the traffic. Of course, she said the traffic would be fine, but you try getting out of there sometimes when like people going to work, getting off work, it's really busy sometimes, but I just don't feel like it should be changed. I hate that it was done like that and they had to pay the taxes, but you know, I'm a taxpayer too, and I live right close to it, and I don't know what kind of business is coming. It might be a junkyard. Then the price of property is going to go down. Lord only knows what's going to happen to Camp Kirkwood that's been there for I don't know how many years, ever since I can remember. But
About
I would
40
like
years.
if you could consider leaving it as residential for the sake of our future children and families that live in this area.
Now, you were there when that garage was open, that car garage?
Yes, sir.
But it was already, I mean, it was operating like a business then.
Yes, sir.
Well, let me, because she mentioned Camp Kirkwood, and I always like to just speak to myths and clarify that, because I grew up in Willard and always went to Kirkwood to swim in the afternoons, and so I know how important that is to the community. Would this, what we're doing tonight, would that affect, would it have an effect on Camp Kirkwood operation?
Mr. Tate, I'm not sure it's appropriate for me to answer
Okay.
that, to testify. I
Okay.
mean, it's a business that can go in as general business. Right now, the only things that are before you are 2 and 3.
Just over that garage there.
And
But I'm trying to decipher, maybe staff can tell me, would it affect Camp Kirkwood operating as a camp? Not the adjacent businesses, but the camp?
No, sir, we're not modifying Camp Kirkwood's
Okay.
with zoning classification.
So
which-
the camp would not be stopped, ma'am?
I understand that, but I don't know what kind of business they're talking about putting in there and what kind of overflow is going to be over into Camp Kirkwood.
Well, that's no difference if we know what kind of residents would come in there. It would overflow,
Yeah,
right?
exactly, but you're not going to have a junkyard possibility or something like that.
I've seen some neighbors at borderline junkyards.
Yes, sir, I agree with you.
I got some pretty close to me, not
I agree with you, sir, but that's a rural area, has
Sure.
been.
Sure,
I swum a many a day at Camp Kirkwood, rode my bicycle over there.
sure.
You know, and to think that business could come in there and take something away.
But it's about, what, I guess a quarter mile from Kirkwood, where it stops?
The overall track there.
I'm not really sure. I can't.
I mean, it's not right next to it.
I went there as a kid, and my son goes there now.
Yeah, I know.
So it's kind of-
YMCA.
I've never do anything to try
Right.
to harm Kirkwood, but at the same token, we kind of changed the game on these people after they bought their land. You know, that's something, just something to think of. And it's his public hearing, if whoever that is signed up, they'll have their chance to speak. So, did anybody else have any questions for this?
I don't.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Robert Murray.
Good evening. My property is right across from lot 1, 2, and 3 on 17, right across 117. And I am strictly against any kind of business coming in there. That's all I have to say about
So
it.
you live near the Murraytown Road? You live right near the Murraytown Road?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Murraytown Road and 117.
Right, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Karen Berger.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I am not an adjacent property owner. I live just north of the area in question. And my concern about this, I sent an email to you, Commissioner Williams and Mr. McCoy, and I won't restate all that. I believe there may be some safety issues and concerns about the fact that the intersection there is small. I understand it's a major highway by classification, but at the time in 1999 when this was zoned B2, that was the only business district in the area. Since that time, according to Mr. Brewer, approximately just 3 miles north of there, almost 700 acres was then zoned business to include the whole overpass at exit 390. And I couldn't even count how many plats, but that's approximately greater than 1 square mile of business district that didn't exist in 1999. And with respect to the property owners, Mr. Rodriguez and Herring and Tatro, if you're here, I know you bought it as general business, but here we are 5 years after a mistake was made, and being a resident that understands some of the special use process and permits, I can understand a mistake being corrected after a year, 2 years, 3 years, but it's been 5 years, and according to the Registrar of Deeds records, the taxes paid on those properties for the last 4 years has been RA, not general business. So I'm not sure if there's a problem in the tax office that needs to be looked at. So, okay, well, I only am able to log on to the Registrar of Deeds, so thank you.
Please
And I don't want to take that away from you at all, and it's just, my concern is that 5 years, there's got to be at some if you will, statute of limitations, for lack of a better term, to correct a mistake. And so here we are today. We're not in 1999 when this was zoned. 15 years later, things have changed. The complexion of Pender County has changed. And so we're revisiting this as an administrative error, but I request as a property owner that we revisit it as a rezoning issue, which is what it technically is. And if it's a rezoning issue, you have NC statutes and Pender County statutes that allow for the property owners to properly petition for a rezoning. The fact is, here we are now. It's RA. It's been RA. And so let's look at Pender County as it is today, and in the interest of the community, if we go through either a special use permit or if we go through an actual rezoning, it will give us neighboring property owners at least the opportunity to understand what type of business may be considered by Mr. Rodriguez and the other owners there. I mean, I don't want, with respect to them, I understand that a mistake was made on and had no part of theirs, but it's a rezoning issue, and there are procedures for rezoning, and an administrative fix after 5 years just doesn't make sense, particularly since here we are 15 years later, and you do have more than a square mile of general business just 3 miles north, and that's just a hop, skip, and a jump for our community needs. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am.
I do have a question.
Please.
If you don't mind. When did you buy your property?
2003.
So when you bought your property, you were under the impression all that was rural agriculture in that area?
I was under that impression, but it was not. It was GB, but I was under the understanding or at B2 at the time. I did purchase that when that was business zoned, but I was not aware of that at the time.
Okay.
From the time I built on the property and improved the property, I was under the understanding it was RA.
That's right, because it was 6 before 09, so yeah, okay.
But time has elapsed, and I would appreciate if we look at it for the merits of where we are today and the situations today. Thank you, gentlemen.
W. Rodriguez.
when we purchased our property, it was commercial. The only reason why how I found out, there was no letter sent out to us or anything. We were thinking of building a little mom and pop shop. You know, wife likes doing arts and crafts. So we're going to build that. And somebody going to find out, possibly maybe sell a lot so we can have a little fun so we can build it. There is a business across the street. And when we went there, they said it wasn't commercial. I remember when I built my house 2007 in Hampstead, because I also owned some other property in Burgaw, which we're going to move to when we retire. Right up the road, strictly across from Wellsport Products. And then I found out it wasn't commercial, and I said, yeah, I have the proof, because I have gotten that whole paperwork back in 2007. And then that's when I met Carl Brewer, and we researched it and found that it was a mistake, a rezoning mistake. If that mistake was never done, we never would have been here. It would have still been the way it is. So it's not like, and we weren't notified. Nobody was notified of changes. I just so happened to stumble across it because we finally would decide to do something about it or build something, whatever. The other fellow has a shop there.
The garage
commercial. Yes, the tailor. He has a shop there already.
What'd you say you're gonna put on it?
We're gonna put like a little mom and pop shop, do something like a arts and crafts shop, you know.
Just art and crafts?
Yeah, something like that, and you know, something like that. Maybe later on add on to it, maybe not. But that's the only way we found out that it was not commercial, when it was, and it was a mistake by the zoning. Like I said, if it wasn't a mistake, we wouldn't be here today. It would still be GB.
I have a question for Ms. Frank. I mean, you know, we've got a business in 4,
Yes, sir.
and then we've got a business. So basically, we've got a business on either side of 3 yards. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just thank you.
And for clarification, this is not an administrative fix. We advertise this as we would any general use rezoning. We met all the statutory requirements for a general use rezoning. If for some reason the map had not been adopted, then we could have administratively fixed it. But because you adopted the map in 2009, we had to advertise, put the property through the same process that any general use rezoning in Pender County would have gone through.
Thank you for clarifying. Any other commissioner have questions for the applicant?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Roberts, hold on, Mr. Coward, you can confirm that you did. You don't have to get up there. You just can confirm that you did talk to him based on the little error that was noted when y'all talked.
Yes, sir. When I met with Mr. Rodriguez, I told him, you know, give me a few days so I can research this. It was my decision to move this forward, and that was really based along with the Commissioners' adopted resolution to change the zoning from RA to B2 in 1999. If that resolution had not been passed, if it was always B2 and then it got changed, I would have respectfully requested that Mr. Rodriguez apply for this rezoning. But since I found it was staff's error, we did move forward with that. So.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Rodriguez before we go to the next sign up? Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Keith Tatro.
Good evening. My shop is number 4. When I bought it, I'm gonna open it up to be a welding shop. Is what it'll be.
It's a welding shop.
Welding shop. And which I'm just getting. It's built the shops up and all, but probably in a few years I work on the road now, and I'll be giving that up. Come back, probably do some welding in the shop.
Anybody have any questions, Mr. Tatro? Thanks, sir.
Melanie Herring.
How many do we have, Trey?
That's it.
Okay.
And while she's coming up, let me remind the board that the rezoning for their parcels, Mr. Tatro's and Ms. Herring's parcel, are not on. They were tabled by the planning board,
Yeah.
so it's only 2 and 3 that are on before you
Okay.
tonight.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you. My husband and I bought the property on Highway 117. We also bought property down on the river, proceeded to construct a log cabin. We weren't real sure what we were going to do with the commercial property at the time. However, he died in 2006, and I got overwhelmed with 2 small children, and everything, but I do want to start, I don't know, maybe an ice cream shop or something, you know, nothing big, but when I bought it, it was commercial business, and I just feel like if you change it, that's really not fair, you know, because I bought it with a residence already built down on the river and a place out on the highway for exposure to open up something.
What'd you say you wanted to put on it?
I don't know now.
You're not sure,
You know, we had plans to open up something, but I probably won't do that without my husband. I don't know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
These are all the items we have, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions, comments from commissioners?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
It is, I hear the concern of the residents, and this is a very tough situation because I've always liked to respect what the residents say that live in a community, but I also hear people who bought the property, I don't want to say under false pretenses, but under the presumption that it was business, and I believe in free enterprise as well. So, having said that, I'm in a quandary here on this one. Certainly lean to our senior commissioner who's on that in that area, their district. The question for you is, can you reinforce or restate for us what businesses that could relocate there that would be required to come back and apply for a special use permit, and maybe that might alleviate some of the concern for the residents who are concerned about if any type of business is going to be able to operate there pending if this board approval. Do you understand my question, Ms. Franks?
I do. Right off the bat, a salvage yard or junkyard is not permitted in the general business district with or without a special use permit. It's just not allowed. So it cannot be a salvage yard.
So a salvage yard cannot be located there?
No, sir. They're only allowed in the industrial district, and I believe that's via special use permit.
Okay.
So, table 5.23 is our table of permitted uses. It houses about 12 pages of specific uses that are allowed. I could list them all out, or?
No.
Okay.
Can you just summarize for me, maybe in arts and craft, for example, would that be allowed? While maybe an exotic animal business could not be allowed.
Would not be allowed. Arts and craft would.
That's right.
General
That's
business
right.
is going to allow your personal services, your general retail, convenience store, grocery stores by right. When you start getting into more intense uses, more industrial uses, manufacturing uses, more than likely they're not going to be allowed, with the exception of what was modified to allow some development out in the Maple Hill area, the Seashore Builders, where we added construction, the storage of housing trusses. That's going to be about the only manufacturing that's going to be allowed in the general business district, and that is actually allowed via special use permit. I mean, is there specific use you would like? Or?
That's
okay.
You're correct.
We can make copies of the table of permitted uses if any of the citizens would like to see those copies.
Maybe.
I have a question, if you don't mind.
You've been answered, Mr. Tate?
Yes. Thank you.
GB, I'm assuming there's no residential allowed in
No,
that
sir, no
location?
residential is currently allowed in the general business district. RA will allow residential, but RA would also allow some more intense industrial and commercial uses as well.
So if one of the owners wanted to build a home on the property, they would have to come out and get a rezoning?
Currently, as the zoning is now, no, they could build as RA, they could build a single family structure.
I'm talking about in the GB.
In the GB district, it would not allow single family.
Okay.
They would have to come back and rezone. Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff, commissioners? Hearing none, close the public hearing, entertain a motion.
That's my district, I guess. It's not an easy answer here, but since they bought that property, assuming that it had been zoned that way, I've got to go that way.
A motion for approval?
See, he's making his motion.
That was the motion, yeah.
Yes.
I'll second the motion.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries. Item 24, public hearing and resolution requesting approval of a zoning map amendment for general use rezoning of 7.42 acres from OI Office and Institutional District to RA Rural Agricultural District located along the east side of US Highway 117 between River Road and Church Street, just south of the Duplin Pender County line, Willard, North Carolina. This is your district, right? Mr. Brewer.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members. The rezoning you have before you is a general use rezoning.
Somebody one of the staff get the door back there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. McCall. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. General use rezoning of 7.42 acres from OI Office and Institutional District to RA Rural Agricultural District. The property is located along the east side of US Highway 117 between River Road and Church Street, which is just south of the Duplin-Pender County line. Here you can see the subject property. According to the submitted narrative, the applicant would like to develop the site to accommodate a religious use. Also, as stated within the narrative, the applicant would like to utilize the RA zoning district to exercise flexibility within the parking standards, specifically in regards to acceptable materials allowable within the two separate districts. According to the flood insurance rate maps, the tract is not located with any special flood hazard areas. The site does contain a portion of regulated wetland area containing approximately 0.665 acres, which is located on the northern boundary of the tract in this area. Any potential development of the area will require further evaluation and approval from the appropriate state and/or federal agencies. Currently, there is public water available to the site, and any future development would be required to connect to this utility. There is public sewer running parallel to the site along US 117, but has been determined by Pender County Utilities that access to this service would not be supported due to the high volume flow and necessity to install additional infrastructure. Any future development on this site will be further evaluated, but at this time, on-site septic would be utilized. The comprehensive plan designates the property as suburban growth. The suburban growth land use classification identifies as areas of Pender County where residential growth is expected to occur within the planning horizon, which are located near incorporated areas, Scotts Hill, Rocky Point, and portions of 421. And then in this case, the proximity to the city limits of the town of Wallace would classify it as a suburban growth. Staff is recommending approval of this request. This did go to the planning board in June, in which they recommended approval unanimously. I'll be happy to answer any questions. I believe the applicant is here.
Probably should officially open it up to comments questions and comments from the Board of Commissioners to staff at this time.
What is the zoning around the property?
It is all RA.
Should be RA.
Okay.
So just the two tracks, which are divided by a 60-foot access right-of-way back to these portions, or these tracks back here, but directly surrounding the property is all RA.
Any other questions from commissioners before we go to sign-ups? Hearing none, Mr. Attorney?
We have one sign up, Mr. Chairman. Charles, I can't make out the last name, Kazir?
Kazir.
Kazir.
Okay, can I ask, come on up, that's okay. I want to ask Kyle one more thing while he's up here, if that's okay. So, everything around it's rural agriculture?
Yes, sir.
So they're wanting to go back to rural agriculture for these two tracks?
That's correct.
And it was zoned, what was it, OI?
That's correct. It
Office and Industrial?
That's correct. Prior to 2010, it was zoned RA, and then it got zoned to OI. I only can assume because of the institutional or church ownership of the property. And then
okay, I think you just
Okay.
cleared the confusion up.
That explains why we had one kind of oddball zone there.
Thank you, that's okay.
Yes, sir. State your name and address, please, for the record.
Yes, sir. I'm Charles Kazare. I'm with Intracoastal Engineering. I'm with the applicant for the church. The client came to me and we started going through the master development process, which we had to do for the O&I zoning district. And as we worked through the site plans with Kyle, a couple of our techniques that we were trying to do for the parking lot design was not allowed due to it was required to be paved to NCDOT standards. So we worked with Kyle and felt it was best for us to pull from the master development plan and go for the rezoning back to an RA, which we feel is a downzoning for the project and more in unison with the adjacent properties. Since that time, we've also obtained our DOT driveway permit and our NCDENR stormwater permits and sedimentation and erosion control permits as well. That's about it.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions, comments? That's the only sign if you see.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Hearing none, we will close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, this is in my district, and I think it's a wonderful project. I want the board to know that I support it 125% and know the good bishop very, very well. Work with him very, very closely, and I'm very, very familiar with this church. Their group, they're just wonderful, fine people, and I am hopefully that it come, but I respect the decision of this board. Because of my work with this church in the past, I would like to respectfully ask that I decline from voting on that tonight. I know it's probably not a big issue with you all, but just in my own personal ethics, I like to be able to abstain, but also because but that doesn't mean, Elder Crossland, I'm certainly a part in favor of this. I just don't want to vote on it. I don't think there's opposition to it tonight, but heard nothing but good things as I pass by there and see it advertised. And also, we don't know what the future beholds for any of us, so I'd just like to abstain at this point.
Mr. Chairman, if someone would make a motion to excuse Commissioner Tate.
Motion? Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, excuse Mr. Tate in this vote.
I'll make a motion to approve the item.
Second. Motion and second approved as presented by staff. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you, Elder Crossland. I look forward to joining you all in service.
Yes, sir. Next, we have item 25, public hearing and resolution requesting approval of a special use permit for the operation of electrical substation located at the corner of U.S. Highway 17 and Old Whitfield Road, Hampstead, North Carolina. Mr. McCarthy. I believe we've got, if you've signed up, you need to please come up if you've signed up for this item.
Please on this, please come up and be sworn.
Yes, ma'am. I understand.
Someone swear testimony give us either be true, the whole truth, so help you God. Thank you all.
Good evening, Board. Timothy J. Same, applicant on behalf of Duke Energy. Owner is requesting approval of a special use permit for the construction and operation of an electrical substation. The substation's physical area will occupy approximately 2 acres on the subject 20.81 acre parcel. This project is proposed to be constructed in 2 phases, with phase 1 consisting of a control building, V structure, and 1 transformer with related power lines and poles. Phase 2 is estimated to begin 15 to 20 years in the future. That will consist of 2,800 square feet of a V structure and 1 transformer with related lines and poles. The applicant is in compliance with the 2010 Comprehensive Land Use Plan, but in order to comply with the 2010 Parks Plan, staff recommends that at least a 30-foot easement is dedicated within the power line easement, which runs right along here, which is consistent with other dedication along this greenway as outlined in the Pender County UDO 7611E3. Specifically, according to the 2010 County Parks and Recreation Master Plan, the proposed coastal Pender County Greenway is located along the Progress Energy power line easement located on the subject property. Additionally, staff recommends that the applicant install Type C landscaping buffers along all adjacent roadways within the development, as opposed to the required D buffers, which don't provide a significant amount of coverage. Generally, with telecommunication towers, for example, they use C buffers. They're dense. They provide a bit more coverage. And just one clerical error. Condition number 2 on your And your staff report should read, all violations shall be remedied in accordance with 12.4.10C of the UDO. Staff and the applicant are available if you have any questions.
Can you define the buffers for me?
Sure.
Not what it is, but what type of buffer they would have?
They're required to have type D buffers. They're generally suited for rural areas and low density development areas. Type C buffers are generally very dense, opaque screening, a lot of evergreen things like that.
So pretty much the trees close to 17 would be removed.
Correct.
That's right across from the hilltop there.
Yes, it is.
Any other questions for staff from commissioners or for Mr. Bibberstein?
Mr. Chairman, I believe all the sign-ups we had were with Mr. Bibberstein and his client. We did not have any other sign-ups.
I'm Rick Bibberstein. I'm here on behalf of Duke Energy Progress. We also have Mr. John Elliott, who is Director of Government and Community Relations, the gentleman. Then Tim Sain, who is the professional engineer in this Duke Energy. Lloyd Stalls, who is a planning engineer. He's an electrical engineer. And then Justin Biegler, who is the project engineer for this project. We have those here basically to answer any questions that you have. I'm assuming that you will have some questions. The property is for a substation that studies have shown will be needed within the next 5 years because of the growth in the Topsail area. And then they're planning on a second transformer within that area, probably within the next 20 years, possibly a lot sooner, depending upon the growth that comes to the area. Basically, this is a pretty much an environmental-free problem. There's very little traffic just coming in to check it after it's constructed, of course. There's no noise to speak of. There's the humming sound that transformers make. But usually at the property line, it's very minimal. There's no dust, no light pollution, no air pollution. Visibility normally is not a problem. There was a mention of the buffers being either a C rather than a D as in dog. Actually, this shows what is being proposed in terms of vegetation around it, and there will be a chain link fence, but a buffer that requires.
You better put a chain link fence around it.
Yes.
No people can steal something out of it.
We don't want to get in there. That's the main thing. And it also has a barbed wire strand on top of it to keep them out. But a canopy tree poses two problems. Number one, people can climb over the thing, and number two, it blows down. So any canopy tree would be a problem. And actually, most substations don't have much buffer around them. If you notice, the one at Topsail Beach, for example, the one at out here at 421, there's just no buffer. And the reason for that is you can see in. And any animal that gets in there, or any problem that gets in there, that develops in there, can be seen by passers-by. And that's one safety advantage of not having buffers. But the Duke Energy has no problem with putting a D in, or even a C for that matter, except no wooden fence, which is a problem. And canopy trees, or any tree above 7 or 8 feet, just presents a problem from their standpoint. And so we would ask that that not be required, or at least authorize the planning staff to let us work with them to come up with something that's not problematic from the safety standpoint or outage standpoint. The easement for Greenway. I've got Mr. Elliott prepared to answer that if there's any questions about it. But keep in mind that we're talking about the substation here, and the easement is along the transmission line, and there's a transmission line that joins it, so it's not really part and parcel of this hearing today. But I'm told that Duke Energy will work with the planning staff or anybody else who needs that type of thing. There are restrictions that may make it less than 30 feet because of the, you got a 100-foot right-of-way, you got a pole. The early guidelines require you to be 25 feet away from the pole. That only leaves 25 feet. So you got that problem there. But within the guidelines, they can work with the staff and do that. That's an abbreviated presentation.
And can I say that if you don't live by a transformer, you would love it when your electricity goes out, because Duke Power is right there. They cook it on you, the first people.
That's exactly
So
correct.
It's a blessing for living by, because I live close to one. I love
That's
it.
right, you do have
When a hurricane come, I know I'll be in the moment of time, I'll be with electricity. So
Yes,
it's
you
good.
can see it from your house, can't you? Yeah.
One of the problems that Atkinson had is they're 22 miles from their substation. And it was 2 or 3 days before they could get back on, because you start at the substation and work out, bringing lights on. So you're right.
I told Mr. Bibberstein that I respected how good a lawyer he was to have scheduled that storm last week right before this was going to be heard by the board. So losing electricity was fresh on everybody's mind. That's why he's the smartest lawyer in the county, because he does things like that.
They accused me of bringing the hurricane just to help pass this. But if there are any questions, we'd be glad to answer them with our expert staff. And I believe Mr. Brewer's behind me, because he's going to tell me something about buffers.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Brewer or Mr. Bibberstein or any of the contingent that's here on behalf of the plaintiff? Mr. Brewer, you going to comment on buffers?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Just for clarity, regardless of buffer C or D, which is really going to look at intensity and the opaqueness of that buffer, they're all going to require a canopy tree. So I would look to our council to see that I don't think that this board could reduce any minimum requirements in the buffering. So I just want to make sure that Mr. Bibberstein is aware of that regardless if it's C or D, any of the options are going to require a canopy tree. And if there's a reduction to my knowledge, a variance would be in store from the Board of Adjustment. So I just want to make that clear for the board tonight.
In the interest of time, I wonder if the plaintiff would rather take the lesser of the evils in and figure out a way to go with the canopy versus going for a variance. But that's a question that the plaintiff, Mr. Elliott, might want to answer, unless we can modify our own buffer requirements.
I mean, we're allowed to impose special conditions, but in general, we're not allowed, you're not allowed to reduce below what, I mean, you can, that's part of the special use, is you add additional conditions, not that you reduce what is there. I think that's consistent with the way we've applied it in the past as well, isn't it, Mr. Brewer?
We can't relax our standards on what you're saying, basically.
That's correct. But just to, and to be consistent with what my staff has approved in the past, is we've worked with an applicant who had a buffer strip that was under a transmission line, or is actually just under a distribution line, and we worked with the species. I think that there's options within the ordinance that could provide for a canopy tree that might not be as canopy as they might envision for that planting. So.
We're not going to water it.
Of course, we could always exercise the utilities right to trim a tree, let it be a canopy, and then cut the top out of it.
That's fine. I just don't want any issues when we go to process and approval later for site plan. So.
No, I was just told that we'd be able to work out whatever requirements might be required. That's not a problem. I mean, we can work it out. I mean, but understanding that it
Under the rules of a canopy tree, and you can work with staff and come to some kind of agreement
I'm
on that.
confident we can.
But the least amount of that type of thing is better, obviously.
Point made. Anybody else have any, I want to confirm, is everyone that signed up with the plaintiff? I want to
Yes,
make
sir.
sure.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's make sure.
At least Last time I looked at the list.
And all the ones that were sworn in were, yes, sir, I checked.
Just want to verify that. Any other questions or comments by any commissioners?
I don't,
Yes, sir.
I don't have one, Mr. Chairman.
I would just want to say this before we approve of it, is, my cousin worked with Progress in it, that's why I laughed about the fence around the, transfer. People would actually go in there and try to steal the copper out of it.
They
I was
will.
surprised at that.
Yes, they will.
I mean, you see all this vultures, somebody wanted to steal the copper out of it.
Sometimes they get
Electric,
tried.
of course, he didn't live, the shoes was left there, you know. He didn't. Sorry about that.
On that note, we'll close the public hearing.
Well, I wanted to introduce the.
Yes.
All right, I'll open
Mr.
it back
Chairman,
up for the submittal of the evidence.
Evidence, yes. With
I'll
the
introduce
full
all the
report and all the
documents.
documents are admitted into evidence. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir.
Reclose the public hearing and entertain a motion.
I make a motion on there, cause trees won't hit like this.
Thank you. Thank you. Motion and a second as presented by staff. All in favor? Motion carries. Final item on our agenda is item 26, public hearing and resolution requesting approval of a special use permit for the operation of an airsoft facility located approximately
We have a lot of sign-up.
Okay. approximately 1,500 feet east of the intersection of North Carolina Highway 210 and Little Kelly Road, Rocky Point. Please come up and be sworn by the attorney if you are on the list and would like to speak. If you have a lot of folks, or maybe you're speaking for a group, you can let us know. I do believe this is Mr. Brown's district.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
We wish to be affirmed.
We need to take care of that. I can come to hard this week. No, I just can't.
Scott Robbins, on behalf of Elmer Wilson Ayers, is requesting approval of a special use permit for the operation of an airsoft facility. According to the definition, airsoft is defined as a sport in which participants eliminate opponents by hitting each other with a spherical, non-metallic pellet launched by a replica firearms called airsoft guns. The proposal is proposed to be approximately 20 acres in size on a parcel that is 31.43 acres in area and will occur in 2 phases. Phase 1 includes the construction of a pro shop, parking, landscaping, and the airsoft fields, which will total approximately 11 acres or so in this area. The applicant's narrative states we also plan to install netting across the entire front of the property to ensure that projectiles do not travel beyond the buffer zone onto NC Highway 210 or adjoining neighbors' property. Phase 2 includes the installation of the second airsoft field, also approximately 11 acres, and associated parking. This phase is proposed to occur in 2015-2016. The applicant's proposal is in compliance with the 2010 Comprehensive Land Use Plan and conflicts with no goals or policies. Staff and the applicant have also discussed and agreed upon hours of operation. The facility shall not open earlier than 9 a.m. and shall close at 6 p.m. Staff and the applicant are available if you have any questions.
Any questions for?
Yeah, I do have one question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. McCarthy, you said the property is currently zoned RA, and that this use is allowed as amusement and recreation industries with a special use permit in the RA district.
That's correct.
The pro shop that they're planning, is that considered a business?
Yes, it would. Well, it would be portion of the retail, but we looked at it as part of running the operation for the actual recreational facility.
But is it open to the public to walk in and purchase something, or is it just exclusive to the people that are there participating?
My understanding is that it would be open to the public.
So it is a business open to the public?
Correct. And the applicant can specifically clarify on that.
And that's fine, but my question is, if it's a business, a retail business open to the public, that's allowed under an RA use?
Via special use permit.
Then what's that, so that's not treated like a regular business?
It would, well, I guess I don't understand your question. It would have to come through this same process as well, but all one encompassing special use permit project, essentially.
Okay.
If there's a use specifically more intensive proposed on the site that wouldn't, so for example,
Okay.
one use that might be special use and then
Let me ask
more-
it another way. If it wasn't about an airsoft facility or this being proposed,
Sure.
and someone wanted to walk in and propose a business that they wanted to sell things of this nature on the retail market, open the business to the public, and they're in RA, they would not be required, a rezoning would not be required?
they would have to go through this special use permit process.
So it could be done in the RA with a SUP.
Correct.
Okay. All right, you answered my question. Thank you.
That was a good question. Any other commissioner have questions, Mr. Carl? Hearing none, do you have signed up?
We'll start with the applicant, Mr.
Yes, sir,
Chairman.
the applicant, please.
Scott Robbins.
Yes.
Good evening. My fiance's grandfather purchased the property back in 1942. My future son, stepson, got me involved in the sport of airsoft about 2.5 years ago. Our local field that we played at in Ogden, he did not have a special use permit, and he was kind of letting everyone play for free, so they shut down. We got a bunch of guys in the sport now. It's a fast-growing sport, and basically we have no place to play. So my future stepson and I basically were going to start playing on the property, and basically wanted to open it to the public. And basically we plan on leaving about 100-foot buffer zone across the front and the side where Miss Scott's property is, and installing netting in about 100 feet in the woods to make sure that no BBs travel beyond the buffer zone we've created. I have a sample of BBs if anyone would like to look at them, as well as a couple of 5-minute.
I've seen a bag about 5 times that size spilled in my garage.
Yeah.
Shop vac works good for getting them up real quick.
And basically, it's just like the sport of paintball, except we use a little more realistic replica gun. We use a little bit different ammo, biodegradable. The guns shoot about 200 feet. The property for decades has kind of only been occupied by hunters, which, you know, we're shooting real rounds that travel a lot farther than 200 feet. Basically, you know, kids and people around need a place to play, and we kind of wanted to open this one to the public and provide that. So we also have a couple of 5-minute videos that we took on the property, kind of demonstrating the guns and the noise level. I mean, they're really quiet. We used a noise meter. If anyone would like to view those as well, we have those. So.
You have a video?
Yeah, a couple of videos we took just of us firing the guns with a noise meter, just so you could kind of see, you know, that they're really quiet. And we walked out a couple 100 feet to Highway 210 and had someone fire it in the woods, just so, you know, we could take a noise reading to show that you can hardly hear them,
It's kind
basically.
of like paintball, you say?
What's that?
See, it's kind of like paintball?
Yeah, it's just like paintball. The only way it differs is the type. The gun, paintball guns look a little bit more like a paint sprayer.
I think they sting you pretty good, the paintball.
Yeah, they sting. They sting. They do. We got 11 of our 16 members of our airsoft team here, also to answer any questions about the guns or the ammo if no one understands or has any questions.
Real quick, Mr. McCarthy, how many acres is this again?
I believe that's 31.43.
And when I hear you say and I didn't mean it, I know this, membership. I hear you say membership. Is this open again for public, or this is personal?
Yeah, public. We just have an airsoft team, and we
Okay,
travel
okay.
to local events, and we used to play locally every weekend till there was only one airsoft field in this area. The closest one is Jacksonville. There's probably only 3 in the state. Most of them are paintball.
So how many acres are you going to use in reference to this?
About 23 total. Right now, we're
How
just
many teams are going to be able to play out there?
basically, I mean, based on the field that we used to play at, you know, in a normal Saturday or Sunday, there would be 25 to 50 people. I mean, normally 25, 35 people. And so, yeah, anyone could show up, and the items we'd be selling in the pro shop would basically just be to kind of support the field. We would only be open on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday. So we would basically just have rental equipment, sell ammo, and guns as well. So.
Gotta have the helmets, goggles, all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
we'll have the helmets, goggles, and I did submit about 6 pages of rules along with the application that, you know, has all the rules of the game. We wear full seal, eye protection, pretty much 13 and up players. So, you know, we wear all the same things as paintball.
Can I ask you the question, why did they close it over in Ogden? What was the reason?
Basically, he was over in like a real residential neighborhood between, right at Middle Sound Loop Road, between Market Street and the school there. And he owned the property, but he didn't have a special use permit. He just kind of was letting friends play, and so we just started playing over there with those guys. And his property is valued, you know, a lot higher per acre, and he just kind of couldn't afford to keep it going because he didn't have the permit to really take money from people. So he shut down. So, but there was a lot of kids out there, and a lot of kids that stopped playing the sport because really we don't have a place to play, and the paintball fields allow us, but they only allow us certain days. So.
Any other questions for that?
Yeah, I do. I have
Yes,
one.
sir.
The shop will be open only on the weekends when you're
Yeah,
there
just
playing,
when
so no one will be there running the shop during the week?
Nope, just when we're there on the field. It's just a weekend, you know, kind of hobby and sport. So just at the times we're actually playing is the only time. Basically, there will be someone there to just kind of take people's money, give them a name or a wristband, and then if they wanted to rent equipment or purchase BBs, and that's it. We wouldn't be open during the week.
That's all I have.
Any other questions?
You gonna have a
We plan to, like I said, leave a 100-foot buffer zone
Okay.
across the front and sides of the property, and then install paintball netting in the woods right at that buffer zone, so that, you know, no BBs would travel beyond. With that 100 feet and with the netting there, you know, BBs shouldn't even travel past the netting. But we'd rather have that netting in the woods instead of at the edge of the property. We don't want, you know, neighbors cleaning BBs up out of their yard or anything like that. So, but these do break down in about 6 months. So,
And how many? The yardage? I mean, how many feet does it have?
they shoot about 200 feet. I think that's what you're asking. The guns shoot about 200 feet. That's kind of a far shooting gun too. Most of them are about 70 to 150. So.
Sign up.
Yes.
Sign up.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks.
Georgia Scott.
Good evening. I'm Georgia Scott. I'm the property owner right beside the facility that they are planning, and I am very concerned about all this, looking at the map. I have brought my daughter here from Wilmington, and she is going to speak for me, so.
If you would, just point with Ms. McCarthy, you have a point of where is your property at?
It's 18055 NC Highway 210,
So you're
right
right
there.
in the middle?
right beside it. And then they own property on the left-hand side, but I don't think they have phased that out yet.
Yeah, we're not using the property, the field over there. We're just using the park.
But it's beside me, and the second phase would be to the back of me, a parking lot in the back of me. See, my lot is right there in the center, right there. Been a resident for 37 years.
And you say you're concerned, but your daughter's going to speak on that, or?
Yes,
Okay.
she is. She's got some statistics and everything that she's gotten together.
Thank you.
Penny Scott Owens?
I'm not sure if I have statistics, but I am Penny Scott Owens, and I'm speaking on behalf of my mother, Georgia A. Scott. Someone said to me the other day that democracy is something we have to fight for. And tonight, I'd like to fight for my mom. We are not confrontational people. We're people that have tried to live, you know, peacefully in a neighborhood that we consider a neighborhood, even though it's rural agricultural. But I am competitive too. So my dad was a lifelong skeet shooter. I have nothing against guns. I mean, I want to put that out there. But my mother and my dad did not choose to live beside a firing range, okay? I'd like to speak to a few of the approval standards that are required for special use permit application. Item 2 states, the requested use will not impair the integrity or character of the surrounding or adjoining districts, nor adversely affect the safety, health, morals, or welfare of the community or of the immediate neighbors of the property. In addition, item 3 states the proposed use shall not constitute a nuisance or hazard. The proposed airsoft facility radically changes the established single-family community feel and peaceful farmland on this section of Highway 210. In fact, the proposed plan would cause a private nuisance for the neighbors. A private nuisance is legally defined as an interference with a person's enjoyment and use of his land. My mother will experience this firsthand, airsoft sessions starting in the morning and going on until dusk. With the majority of the sessions being held on the weekend, sounds like weekends full of infringement on my mother's rights to a peaceful existence. She will have to listen to the shouting of maneuvers as the participants next door participate in war games. The proposal of this facility directly beside her has already had a huge effect on her perceived safety and welfare. She will not be able to enjoy her front porch during the day because of the noise which is amplified through the woods and the possibility of projectiles flying onto her property at 400 FPS or feet per second. This is a reality for a person that lives adjacent to the property. She currently works as a full-time employee at Pender Packing, where she's been employed there for over 35 years. So for the working folks that live, like my mom, that live near and around the facility, their restful weekends will be a thing of the past. They will be dealing with the noises during their days off. The applicant states there will be around 50 attendees on a typical day. I have personally reviewed videos on the internet of the Jacksonville NC Airsoft facility, and I can say that this is a high adrenaline sport. In addition to airsoft guns, they use grenades as a combat weapon against their enemy. These items are loud, and many of the guns are fitted with attachment that sounds more like guns. In addition, what do you think the participants do when they are shot? Of course, they yell, and quite frankly, from the videos that I viewed, they yelled loud profanities when they were hit. This type of language surely affects the moral character of this peaceful neighborhood. These videos also confirm the ways these facilities are maintained. Most of the houses that the applicant states will be erected without roofs are painted with graffiti, and I cannot see how the property will be kept in any better shape than the natural woodlands that my mother has been living beside for over 37 years. It is clear that the use and enjoyment of my mother's land, which is her primary residence, which was legally constructed without the requirement of a special use permit, is being interfered with. In addition, there is no plan to truly buffer with netting the projectiles from the sides of the properties. It does sound like Mr. Robbins has now stated that you're going to put netting up. That wasn't in the original thing that I read. But my mother does regularly park her vehicles on the side of the house, which could be damaged. The ingress-egress for the driveway to the second phase is also directly beside my mother's driveway. The increased traffic will also be a disturbance, especially for a widow. In addition, Phase 2 includes a large parking lot directly adjoining her property in the back. She will almost be surrounded by the effects of this proposed commercial endeavor. Surely you can see how it would unnerve you to have folks coming and going all day long with guns that look real and folks that are on adrenaline high. I'd like to point out that the Jacksonville NC facility that the applicant notes is zoned business per the Onslow County Tax Office. It is a smaller land size, but the play area's perimeter is totally enclosed by tall treated wood fencing. The other range noted, which is located in Tabor City, North Carolina, is a remote 108-acre facility in Columbus County that currently is unzoned. From the maps, it's clear this field does not infringe on people's primary residence. It is basically an uninhabited area. In addition, there are other examples of private nuisance, the latent damage as it relates to the increased waste dropped from the weapons. The applicant states he will sell only biodegradable ammunition. What are the studies on this type of ammunition? It appears from my research on the internet that the biodegradable pellets will break down, but residue or gunk remains if it's not collected. Biodegradable ammunition is a compacted resin material which is much more expensive and can actually clog up the guns. I would think this is a detriment to the user, causing increased cost paid for the biodegradable ammunition and the cost to repair the guns. So the participants will probably want to bring in their own ammunition to save money. Don't we all know what it's like to keep our children in sports? It can be expensive. So what stops the participants from bringing in the other types of ammunition? The non-biodegradable ammunition has proven to be a pollutant. The property contains wetlands, and pollution is a major concern, which can affect not only the water but also the soil. Item 5, adequate utilities, access roads, drainage, sanitation, or other necessary facilities are being provided. Do we even know what's needed? Have environmental studies been done as it relates to these items? First of all, I hope we're not proposing lighting that would affect the property owners. Again, these are folks who own or occupy their homes, and the applicant has stated they will only operate in the daylight, correct? The applicants will work by day and then leave to go back to their homes in Wilmington. The applicant is proposing a few porta-johns. Will they be on the site permanently? There is potential for pollution with these, especially if they are not monitored and can be accessed when the property is not even open for business. If they're vandalized, this could also lead to pollution. It has been stated in the past that this property will not perk, and if this is the case, the drainage should be a big concern. If the runoff drains into my mother's yard, she is on a well, and what about her water quality and others directly affected? I understand that the county wants to support a pro-business, pro-growth attitude balanced by concern for preserving the natural asset and quality of life factors that make the area attractive to visitors and permanent residents alike. What is the increased revenue you see from this venture? I've said this before, but maybe a few lunches at Paul's Place, some Gatorade from Food Line in Rocky Point, or some bottled water at the Dollar General will happen. But is that really worth all the stress on the residents? They have paid taxes based on improved properties. The applicant has paid none, but the owners, of course, have paid the tax on the unimproved land. Surely we know that the participants won't be staying in our Rocky Point hotels. If the participants are from out of town, they'll probably more than likely go back home to Wilmington or stay in a hotel in Wilmington. All I see is possibly more revenue for New Hanover County and Wilmington, where the applicant's primary residence is located. And some extra trash in our ditches from the lunch waste. I just don't see how this proposed airsoft facility benefits anybody except folks that don't even have to live with it, across from it, or beside it. It's my sincere hope for my mother and the other residents that will be affected by the proposal that in the end, you will all always do the right thing if it is hard. Thank you.
Who's next on?
John White Jr.
Good evening, gentlemen. As a resident of adjoining property, I enjoy the peace and quiet of rural Pender County. That's what led us to this property 26 years ago. We have a quiet community with good neighbors. It would be a shame to have our community invaded, literally, with guns and war games. Our community is zoned rural agriculture, and we would like for it to remain that way. Having reviewed the project narrative, here are some of my concerns. First of all, the dangers. You heard Mr. Robbins stand here and say these projectiles fly up to 200 feet. On a map, there are 2 bases adjacent to our property. In the narrative, we also find the words, "We also plan to install netting across the entire front of the property to ensure the projectiles do not travel beyond the buffer zone." So obviously there's a concern about projectiles here. Now, I have 2 dogs, a cat, and 20 free-ranging chickens. So I'm certainly concerned about my animals. I don't think my birds would eat BBs, but I don't want them on their bug buffet. Second danger I see are unsupervised children. We find these words in the narrative. A lot of parents will drop their kids off at the field and pick them up at the end of the day. Meanwhile, there will be 3 employees and a 12 by 24 foot barn to take care of these children that are going to be dropped off. My question is, who will keep the children off of our property? Who will keep them from walking down the side of the road to go to the store? I see this as a danger. Quality of life. Again, we find these words in the narrative. This field could potentially bring hundreds of people per month. I don't think there'd be very much quality of life with hundreds of people next door on my weekends. It also states, as we've heard here, that it would be open for business from 9 a.m. until dark on Saturdays, and then again from 10:30 a.m. until dark on Sundays. And I ask you this, is anything not sacred anymore? Can we not at least enjoy our Sunday mornings, Sunday afternoons? Thirdly, the character. We have portable restrooms on the site surrounded by privacy fencing. We've already heard about the netting along Highway 210. The narrative actually goes on to state better curb appeal and increase neighbors' property values. I don't see this. In closing, this project is not what I believe is best for our community. I believe it will detract from the community appearance, impair the integrity and the character. It will decrease quality of life and property values, and I believe it's a safety hazard. Now, I've spent my whole life coaching. I've spent the last 30 years coaching, so I understand boys and having them active. Certainly not against that, all for it. I'd just like to see this in a more remote location. So either way, when this is all said and done tonight, they're all welcome to stop by my house and have a glass of tea. That's just the kind of community we have, and we'd like to keep it that way. Thank you.
Larry Younginger.
My name's Larry Youngener. I live at 18235 NC Highway 210. So far, you've heard from the person in the middle of the blue area. You've heard from Mr. Bill at the bottom. And now you're going to hear from the 2 people on the sides. I'm on this side of the blue area, directly adjacent to the proposed facility. Now, I understand that whether or not you are to consider whether or not this request for a special use permit will not impair the integrity or the character of the surrounding or adjoining districts, nor adversely affect the safety, health, morals, or welfare of the community or the immediate neighbors of the property. And so that's why I'm here. I believe the operation of an airsoft facility in this location will definitely impair the integrity and the character of the surrounding community. It is located, the entrance that they're talking about where the pro shop and the parking area will be is located directly across from the Rocky Point Community Center. This is the community center where on weekends during the year you will have football practice, you will have cheerleader practice, and of course we have our Harvest Festival annually there. So I do feel that it will adversely affect the safety and welfare of all these activities that go on there. I do feel that the adjoining property owners like myself who have children, pets, and genuinely enjoy being, relaxing, and working in our yards during the weekend. I work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. I need my weekends. My Saturday and Sunday are in my yard, and I do not want to be listening to I've seen the videos on YouTube as well, and that's not the kind of thing I want next door to me during my weekends. I read the narrative submitted, and you have words in there like construction of a pro shop, landscaping, installing netting for projectiles, 2 to 3 employees, 5 to 7 matches a day. This sounds like a major business. Again, we are zoned RA, but this is a business. It's operating from someone who does not own the property in question and who does not live in the Rocky Point area like we do. So I would personally request that you not approve this request. Thank you.
Mary Younginger?
Good evening. That was my husband that just spoke. And I wanted to reiterate that we both moved out there with our children to be in a rural area and to have peace and quiet. And the things I want to bring up is I have horses. And I moved out there specifically because I have livestock. And this is a rural area, and this is where I'm allowed to have horses and enjoy them. As a horse owner, and if you know anything about horses, the last thing you want to have next to you when you're trying to ride and enjoy your horses is guns going off and warfare type of games. It's actually a danger. And I will not be able to do that with a parking lot and yelling and the guns going off, being able to safely enjoy my horses. I did not move there to have combat next to me. And I printed off pictures from the internet of Mr. Robbins' Facebook to show you what it looks like. Because it's not just a paintball place with kids playing paintball. It's combat and with guns that look like machine guns. And I have a real problem with that as a safety and as a nuisance to where I live. We moved here for the peace and quiet, and I do see that going away. The parking lot, the Phase 2 parking lot will be right behind us. And if you go onto Facebook or you look at the rallies that happen, it's more than 50 people. We're talking 150 people for rallies. So you're talking about a parking lot full of cars on Saturday and Sunday. I don't know when I'll ride now. The other issue I have is I'm a school teacher for Pender County Schools. I teach at Cape Fear Elementary right down the road. I'm a special education teacher. With all that's said in the news about guns in schools, the kids that I teach, this year I taught 5th grade boys, 5 of them. They have behavior issues. 2 of them were already on probation, and they're 11 years old. I personally have a real problem with the guns that they're using. I know that I'm in the country, and that a lot of our people that live in the country hunt, and that is very regulated. But this is not a rifle. This is machine guns, people in masks, and learning tactics, learning how to fight, learning how to avoid the bullets, learning how to fight and get the opponent. This is not just out going and hunting a deer. This is learning how to fight. And I have a problem with, I teach 5th grade boys.
I don't think we're necessarily here to debate that side of this argument here. I don't think
Okay.
that's where we need to be going.
All right, well, I just wanted to bring up the reason why I also have a problem with it behind my yard.
Thank you.
And I have pictures if you wanted them.
How many horses do you
Huh?
have? How many horses do you
I have 3.
Trey, can I see the picture?
Absolutely.
You got these off their website?
Yes.
Who's next? Okay.
Nick
Thank you.
Blair?
Evening, my name's Nick Blair. I just bought, well, we just closed on the property directly to the east of the intended airsoft field. I have the privilege of following behind some very intelligent speakers. They covered the nuisance factor, they covered safety hazards, they covered the degradation of the value of our properties. Having just bought that property, I would not have ever sought to purchase it if there was a field there. I can only imagine the value of my property dropping.
I apologize. Can you point that again using that corner real quick, where you're at?
I purchased this property right here.
Okay, thank you, Bill.
Beyond that, you know, I moved out there with my wife and my daughter, and we've got another child on the way. We intended to set up a farm somewhere nice and quiet away from the city. It is so quiet out there. I'll tell you that my hearing, I have worked in machine shops for the last 14 years. I've worked in them, I've run them, and now I teach machining. My hearing is mostly gone, but I can still hear cars over a quarter mile coming down the road. It's quiet, it's peaceful. The idea of my Saturday and Sunday being interrupted by teenagers yelling and screaming and cursing, all while they have fun, all of this just comes together in a awful little jigsaw puzzle for me. And so it's my hope that you'll look out for our property values, our safety, the things that come along with the RA status. And I think that's about it. Questions?
Ashley Teachy.
Hello. I'm Mr. Wilson's granddaughter, and he bought that property in 1942, and it has been on it years. People have hunted on it, which a rifle bullet can travel a lot farther than an airsoft pellet. And when my son came up with the idea to use our family property that nothing has been on, we thought it was a great way for the dads and their sons to all go out onto the property and be together. The kids will be 13 years or older. There will be dads out there with them. As you saw, there is a buffer that's going to be around the property, and when you're driving down the road, there's going to be woods and the buffer. You're not going to see everything that's going on behind. I understand everyone's concerned with the noise and the traffic, and we are going to do everything we can to keep it clean and, you know, and keep it safe. But I want somewhere for my son and his friends to be able to go and play rather than just being out and about getting involved with other things that they shouldn't be doing.
Thank you, ma'am. I have a quick question. You said that on that property, people did hunt up there?
People went onto our property and they were out there hunting. I mean, we've been out there, we've seen where people had been out there hunting. I mean, their bullets travel a lot farther than ours.
Any other questions? Any questions? Oh, okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Jared Sipe.
In regards to the moral implications.
For the record, please name and address.
Oh, name is Jared Sipe. My address is 1326 Longleaf Road. I live in Southport, which is even farther away, but I travel to Wilmington to play anyways, and I will be traveling out here to play. But in regards to the moral implications and the cussing and the violence and everything, like we said, with this 100-foot buffer, you won't even see us. And in the video, we did the decibel meter, and the guns we're firing, they cannot be heard. The 200-foot range that some of the longer range firing weapons do shoot is relatively short. And even to pull off these shots, we're talking on wooded land. It's not a clear open field where it'll just keep on going for forever. Most guns don't even shoot that range anyways. And for the moral implications, we're out there to have a good time. We're not out there actually trying to hurt each other. That's what wars are for. And in other regards, people cussing, We have referees out there, and if you look in the rules, profanity is strictly prohibited. It will cause warnings, and then on top of that, it will cause expulsion. So the whole regard of moral integrity of the place is just not true. We will take care of that. We will heavily regulate that. As with anything, in any sport, there are always going to be safety issues. I mean, in football, you see kids get concussions and die. Well, at least we're not full-on running into each other. And it's a 6mm BB. You're talking about hitting something, you're not doing much damage to it. I mean, we hit each other all the time with these guns. Even as close as 10 feet, it won't do much damage. Unless they have something that is truly, you know, too powerful to be out there. But with the chronograph out there, we will regulate that heavily. You know, we will keep an eye on it. And in regards to the BBs, they are biodegradable, yes. And on top of that, we're not planning on these BBs getting past the property anyways. That's what the netting's for. That's what these buffer zones are for. So the concerns for their BBs going off onto their property is just unrealistic. And in all regards, I don't see someone shooting 200 feet at nothing over onto someone's property intentionally, which it will not reach in the first place. On top of that, it being biodegradable and people trying to bring their own ammo, yes, they can try, but we regulate that. We sell them our ammo, and strictly for the purpose of them to use it on our field and to make sure that another person's ammo is not brought. So they will not be able to bring it onto our field because we sell our ammo. They will have to use our ammo. And if you have any other questions at all, I'd be happy to answer them.
Are you one of the staff members?
I am one of Scott's best friends. I will be playing out there, but no, I'm not one of the staff members.
Okay.
And me and my brother have been playing airsoft for a long time. We love the sport. You know, we wish to continue playing. And this is one of the only ways. You know, a lot of people would like to see us do it somewhere else, but where else can we do it? You know, this is as far out as we can get. You know, this is as remote as we can be. We don't have property everywhere. We're not the most wealthy people in the world. You know, we all want a chance to have fun. And I understand the concerns of other people, but, you know, we'd like to have fun too.
Thank you.
You know, any questions?
Thank you. David or Daniel West?
Hello, my name is David West. I live in New Hanover County, and my son and I, we play airsoft, and we have for about 2 years, until our local field was actually closed down because they couldn't get a special use permit. This is relatively a safe sport. There are injuries, but you can get injured going to your mailbox. I mean, so it's something we enjoy doing. The fathers and sons used to go to our local field, I mean, every weekend. I mean, we would have 20 people, 30 people playing every weekend, and if you have staff that keeps the rules, you know, the way they're supposed to be done, then the language will be appropriate. You know, and a lot of these areas, like in Florida, I went on vacation and they have a field there that they play on, and they actually train police forces there in tactical training. And that would be something neat to have tactical classes there, you know. And maybe if we can open this field, we can do something like that. And your law enforcement here in Pender County could use that to their advantage. So I'm just a father that enjoys playing with his son.
Amen.
So if any questions, please ask.
What was the reason for denial in New Hanover County? Not using that as a reason, any other reason, but you stated that special use permit was denied in New Hanover County. Is that correct?
The owner of that property was Tommy Coble, and he had tried to open that up for more than one kind of business. He wanted to open up a farmer's market, and the neighbors, I guess, went to a council meeting and shut that down. And I mean, that seemed to be a pretty safe business, but they just did not want the traffic, apparently, directly across from a church. So he opened this up and hoped that he could just have like a private membership, but they still shut him down because they wouldn't let him have a special use permit to open a business there. And when you have the property and you have to pay taxes on property, he was expecting to get some kind of income to pay those taxes. So,
Thank you. Any other questions? Next one, sheet, sir.
Mike Moore.
Mr. Moore? Who's next one?
Daryl Burnett.
Good evening, council members. My name is Daryl Burnett, and I live in Castle Hayne Road. I play with these guys every weekend too. I'm also a United States Marine Corps combat veteran with 4 tours, and I can assure you, as far as the noise ordinance part of it, there's nothing like airsoft as far as how quiet it is for the neighbors. Anybody who's been around firearms would know that too. But being in heavy combat myself, just hardly any noise at all. I assure you that. And being hit by BBs and also being hit by shrapnel myself, that's featherweight. That's nothing as far as that goes. Other than that, I see the positive in it as far as the kids. They have somewhere to go, the younger men, with some guidance and some training. They can appreciate the rules and the safety aspect of it. With a lot of grown men that are out there, having to do something with the kids, is a good positive. It's a positive thing. I bring my nephew who has some problems going on, and since I brought him out there, he's leveled out pretty good. He enjoys firearms, he enjoys airsoft, he enjoys that kind of stuff, and because he doesn't have a father figure, Uncle Daryl's there to do it for him, and my son too. My son is 6 years old, and when he gets age appropriate, what I feel is going to be appropriate for him, it'd be a sport I'd love to get him into, to introduce him to, real firearms from airsoft, and to play the game, to have a good time, and be safe about it, and to show these young men not to, you don't have to cuss, when you're having a good time, you can teach them. This is a good time to teach it, because most men nowadays, they don't teach their children that, So being out there, I feel like I'm doing something besides enjoying myself. I'm helping the children, the boys, and teach them a little bit right from wrong, and even if it's just a little bit on a weekend at a time. That's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your service.
How old most of the boys? Around 11 or 12 years old?
Sir?
Most of the boys around about 11 or 12?
A lot of them are. They're between 13, 16 years old. My nephew's 13, or actually he's 14 now, excuse me. And we've both been playing for about 2 years too. And you'd be surprised some of the kids out there, the words you hear them, but we correct them. Talk to them and say, hey, you don't have to say these kind of words. If you're having a good time, that's different. You yell and scream and whatever. But you don't have to use profanity. And a lot of kids don't even know that. They didn't have nobody to teach them that. Whether it's bad parenting or not having a father figure or somebody to show them that. And a lot of them have mellowed out a lot. I've seen it myself. They've gotten better and they enjoy the sport, so they like to come out there for the camaraderie and for the other gentlemen that are out there. And I see a lot of positive as far as helping them guys out. Any other questions, gentlemen? Thank you, sir.
Andrew Daffer.
Hello, my name is Andrew Daffer. I live in Wilmington, New Hanover County. I've been playing airsoft for almost 3 years now. I'm 14 years old. I started playing airsoft with some friends to have something to do on the weekends. I use it as a stress reliever, because when I go out there, I don't have to worry about, stuff at school, stuff with friends, all that stuff. I get to worry about that. And there's also been studies that airsoft can be used as a stress reliever for combat veterans' PTSD. So I don't know if that helps but that is something that it has been shown to help with. As for the kids that are dropped off, I was one of the kids. When I'm with those guys, I feel that I'm much more mature. I don't act the same way that I do when I'm with my friends. And as they said, profanity, stuff like that, kids getting dropped off will be regulated. I mean, as one of the people that will be out there helping them, not as a paid employee, but as somebody just helping out, I will definitely not allow profanity. If I hear cussing, I will make sure they know. That will not be tolerated. Expulsion from the field is a punishment for that. So as for noise as well, airsoft guns aren't that loud, and the people yelling aren't usually that loud. If they are, and there are complaints, I'm sure that they can find something or a way to solve that problem. Any other questions? Any questions?
Thank you.
Mark Daffer.
My name is Mark Daffer. I'm a resident of New Hanover County, and I'm the father of Andrew Daffer. And I started playing airsoft with my son a couple years ago. I didn't really think a whole lot of it when he first started playing, but he took me out to a couple tournaments, and it really does help to just, you know, it helps to bring fathers and sons together. It really, I mean, we always had a good relationship, but I really could see what all the excitement was about. And you know, I'm not a real big, huge proponent of guns, and you know, these guns, they may look like real guns, but they're not, and they hardly make any noise at all. I mean, Andrew sometimes will test out his gun right outside of our back door, and I can barely hear it. You know, right? He'll shoot a target or something like that, and it barely makes any noise at all. All these guys are really good guys, and if there's any kind of complaints about anything, I'm sure they'll remedy the problem. They've all proven to me that they're responsible individuals.
Any questions, comments? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Those are all the sign-ups, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Attorney, the applicant, question is, there were some pictures staff was taking, and I just want to make sure they just come and look at it where we're to the attorney, and that's confirmed that there's something that's coming from the area over at Ogden, or can you share where those pictures come from? Of course, I don't want something to come to it and it's not related to.
Yeah. So where are these taken?
Or where is that from the Ogden?
This is from the Tabor City field. This is from Boulder Gap in Taylorsville. That was the biggest game in the country until a game in California was a little bigger. It's once a year, every mid-October. There's 1,200 people. Okay. That's where that is.
So that wasn't in Ogden?
No, that's in Taylorsville up by the mountains. The rest of these, this is Adventure Beach airsoft or paintball and airsoft in Tabor City. We have Adrenaline Junkies in Leland, and that's pretty much it.
Okay, I just want you to just make sure you're able to look at this.
Good catch. Any other questions, comments to staff or applicant from the commissioners? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Well, since this is my area, I guess I get the honor.
Yes, sir.
This is not just my, I don't mean that's just my decision. Because I live in the area, I get to make the motion whether to accept or deny. The, I'm sitting here listening to both sides of this tonight. And if you don't mind, I'd like to just take a moment before I make a motion. And I heard a couple of the folks talking about the guns or the military style of what you folks are doing. Personally, I like the concept. I think it's a great idea, especially when you put fathers and sons together, or a bunch of young guys that you're introducing them to competition, camaraderie, a lot of things that I think is very, very important, especially to young men these days. And if it were just sitting here listening to you guys, and you guys were the only ones playing, it'd be a hard decision, because it sounds like you're a great group of folks. And with that being said, I've also listened to the folks that live in the area, and I understand their concerns. I mean, this is something new to those folks too, and they have legitimate concerns because they're basing this on information they pulled down or their own experience or their own opinion. But I did not realize that our zoning would allow a business to just be in an RA area of that nature. And after considering all this, Mr. Attorney and members of the board, I'm going to make a motion to deny the application based on items 2 and 3.
For the record, will you just, I don't have mine in front of me, we just.
I'll read them if you
Yeah,
want me
just go
to.
ahead.
The request use will not impair the integrity or character of the surrounding or adjoining districts, nor adversely affect the safety, health, morals, or welfare of the community or of the immediate neighbors of the property. That's item 2. Item 3, the proposed use shall not constitute a nuisance or hazard. I heard from folks tonight, I'm not convinced that I can say item 2 and 3 will not be an issue. And that's just how I personally feel.
Have a motion from Mr. Brown.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second by Mr. Coy. All in favor? Motion denied, 5-0. Thank you. And I think we need to, versus trying to get together later this week, I think we need to have a motion to go back in closed session. Motion to go in closed session.
Personnel?
Personnel.
So item 6 is personnel.
Make a motion to go to closed session, item 6.
Item 6. Motion. Need a second?
Second it.
Motion and a second. All in favor?